And welcome into another edition of Pressbox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles from Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. And with me is my co-host Gary Stein. And Gary, before I introduce our guest, got an interesting topic tonight. We're going to talk about why October has been named Maryland Horse Month. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about the racing industry, thoroughbred industry, and the importance of the equine industry to the state of Maryland. So with
Sounds
that,
good.
I do welcome in our guests right now, and I ask you both to raise your hands when I hit you. The name Jordyn Egan, and Jordyn Egan is Maryland Horse Foundation Director of Marketing. Jordyn, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And with Jordyn is Litz, who's Maryland Horse Industry Board Field Marketing Specialist. We appreciate you both coming on. And I don't know exactly who I want to pose this first question to, but let's get right to it. And we're going to talk a little bit about why October's been named Maryland Horse Month. But let's talk about the horse industry and set the table for folks to know how important that industry is to the state economy.
I'll start with that. I'm working for the Maryland Horse Industry Board. I grew up in the thoroughbred industry, so I've always known how important horses are to Maryland. But working for the Maryland Horse Industry Board, I have really learned how many aspects the horses touch in Maryland and how an important part of the industry it is. It is a $2.1 billion economic impact to Maryland.
I want to repeat that. It's $2.1 billion industry.
Over the whole industry is that, yep. There are over 100,000 horses in Maryland. Maryland actually has more horses per square acre than Kentucky. So it is a horse state for sure. We have 35 disciplines and 40 different breeds in Maryland. So it really does reach all parts of Maryland. So it's a huge economic impact. We did a survey a couple of years ago and found out that 51.8% of people in Maryland are interested in horses, and that can mean they want to ride, they want to work in the industry, or they just love driving home and seeing them on the side, or they've gone to Preakness. How many years has that one woman gone? For 72 years they've gone to Preakness. So there's just a lot of different aspects to the horse industry that touch a lot of people in Maryland.
Now, I heard the 2.1 billion. How many people does the $2.1 billion, but how many people does the horse industry, way, shape, or form, employ?
So the survey that we had a couple of years ago, let me get the exact number for you. 28,000 industry jobs, but that's also 78 million in tax revenue, and it also has 1 billion spent by participants. And we're not just talking racing fans, we're talking horse shows, tack shops,
yep,
the feed fund. I mean, it's a huge aspect. So it employs the people, it fuels the agricultural economy. Tourism, which we'll talk about a little bit later, has become very much a partner for us in the horse industry. So it is very far reaching.
All right, before I turn you over to Gary for a couple questions, Ann, let me ask you a question. And that is about the actual campaign to name a month Maryland Horse Month. What is the reason for that? And is this the first time that's ever happened, correct?
Yes, it is the first
Okay.
time. So we had a Maryland Horse Forum, which we have every 5 years, and that happened last August. Goucher, where Jordyn's office used to be. And one thing that came out pretty strong from the Horse Forum, we asked people to come in and talk about what they're looking for in the horse industry, questions they have, solutions. It's really a think tank of a day with all different tracks. And something that came out of that is a real demand for people wanting not what's going on in the horse industry in one place. Now that is a multi-million-dollar website that would need to be created and kept up and sourced out. However, working with the Maryland Horse Foundation and having the amazing website of marylandhorse.com with Jordyn's support, we were able to start building that site up and bringing links to all these other sites. So it's a one-stop shop, because there were so many questions that came to the Horse Forum that actually we have answers for, but people get lost in finding them. And there's a lot of bad information out there. So that was sort of the thought of where this sort of started. Then with the onset of COVID, we had a pretty tough month when everything got locked down. Our barns got locked down. And if you can't teach riding lessons, at a stable, it's really hard to feed your horses. Luckily, Governor Hogan was an amazing partner in the state of Maryland. We got the stables open, and our stables are, riding is a discipline. In all our stables, the thoroughbred ones, everyone, you are necessary to be there, but really they did open it up to the clients in a very safe and controlled way. And we have yet to have a complaint from a stable from that. So looking forward to that, people did have to close down their events. These events raise money for the foundations, for the racetracks, for the therapeutic riding, for these barns. So we had to get a little bit creative in how to promote what was still going on. Our industry actually is seeing growth under COVID because all of a sudden horseback riding is a lot safer than soccer camp. So actually I was at the Maryland Saddlery today, and they have 6 people a day coming in to ride and get their first helmet and wanting to try horseback riding because it's naturally 6 feet apart. So as we're watching all this happen, and then we partnered with tourism, wanting to kind of promote horses. People love horses, but they don't necessarily know how to get there. And some people are like, oh, I want to ride a horse. When really all they want to do is work to go to a racetrack and not feel lost, or they want to go to a breeding farm and see the foals, or they want to go to a therapeutic place and learn how to help people or rescue horses. There's all things and people don't know how to get to it. So knowing all this is going on, and then with Preakness being moved to the fall, Maryland Million is always one of the best weekends in October.
No
And then
question
with the
about it.
Maryland 5-Star being, well, it was supposed to be this year, but all of this growth, we knew this was all going to happen in October. So in the spring, we got talking about Horse Month, and tourism was completely on board with us and partnering. And that is where the idea of it started. Governor Hogan announced on September 29th that this was going to be October Horse Month.
Yep.
And with these major events that we're having all together is just sort of the cherry on top. All of our barns are having lessons. They're having socially distanced events. They're doing online auctions. They're doing online educational events. We have a Horses for Courses, which is using a STEM, but using it at barns with horses. All of these things are going on. So we were using MarylandHorse.com and partnering with tourism to let everyone know, now this is year round. We're saying a month because it's a kickoff. This won't stop at all, but to show everyone what is going on in Maryland, beyond the Preakness and beyond that, and how you can get involved, and also to be able to watch Preakness. I mean, what a Preakness Jordyn and I watched together. I don't think we've ever cheered so hard.
Yeah.
So, but then to know what's going on, and you can get out to farms if people that think that that's safe, or you can sit down with your kids and watch how to groom a horse on this educational video, and we'll be able to link and promote that together. Our industry is stronger when we work together through all the different disciplines and facets and organizations. And this is really our chance to show that we can work together and hopefully introduce people to horses in the best way possible.
Thank you,
I don't know
Ann.
what you
Gary, I know you've got a couple.
Got it. I'm good. I'm just controlling the volume.
That was as comprehensive as anything. I mean, but Jordyn, I wanted to ask you a couple questions, and I think it was you actually that sent over a couple of emails that had some highlights on it, some nice, documents that show the width and breadth, if you will, of horse racing and really the equine industry as far as Maryland is concerned. One of the things, and I'm looking at my other computer right now, one of the things that really stood out to me was the one graphic you had really calling this a dynamic agricultural entity. Over 705,000 acres of land in the state of Maryland are in one way or another touched by or devoted to horse farming, horse raising, stables, all the things Ann just mentioned. I think that's really important. I wanted you to expand on that a little bit. It's one thing to say it's a $2.1 billion industry, which obviously is huge for the state of Maryland. But when you talk about the breadth of it all and the acreage involved, I think that gives people even more of an idea of how important it is to Maryland.
Sure, and we all know how important agriculture is to Maryland as a whole. So I'm going to take off my Horse Foundation hat and put on my Maryland Horse Breeders Association hat. We are the advocates for the horse breeders in the state of Maryland. We work very closely with agriculture, and is actually a Maryland Department of Agriculture employee. Our executive director, Cricket Goodall, has worked her entire career to make sure that we are very closely aligned with the agricultural sector. And our type of farming, horse farming, although it's different than, producing a chicken to be consumed, is actually one of the cleanest types of agriculture and one of the best uses of land as far as health of the Chesapeake Bay, and obviously aesthetically and land preservation, and something that is pretty easy to get behind. Like, you're going to have a 50-acre horse farm next to you. It's not not a bad thing. So we're fortunate to be able to advocate for that and to drive that message home, whether it be to people thinking of investing in Maryland, or to Annapolis when we're trying to advocate for, why does the horse industry get this money from the slots or that sort of thing. It's because it's about the bigger picture. It's about land preservation. It's about responsible farming. It's about preserving heritage and culture of Maryland that's so important. And it's not, 2,500 acres in Baltimore County. It's, as you've identified, a huge swath of land that it's important to keep clean and keep where it is.
And all of our licensed stables have to have a nutrient management plan to be licensed in Maryland. They have a licensing program. We have over 700 stables, and the thoroughbred farms too. I mean, Chansine Farm has one of the most amazing nutrient management. So they do work closely, like it's exactly what Jordyn said, with thinking about the bay and thinking about the filtration system that properly grazed fields provide. The only thing better than a field is a forest for the Chesapeake Bay. So it's exactly what Jordyn said.
And, it got me to thinking after reading some of these statistics and the agricultural impact that the equine industry has on Maryland. We're involved in a pandemic right now. Obviously, it's changed everything for everybody all the time. Who knows when it ends? I wonder, is there ever a danger of, like COVID came to the human population, is there ever a danger of the same type of thing coming to the horse population? And how do you prevent something like that? Or what types of measures are there in place to ensure that the horse population is safe?
Well, I'll speak to the racetrack end of things. It's a highly controlled population, and the farms, and then Ann can expound on like the licensed stables and all of that. But the racetrack would be a very highly controlled environment. Every horse has, different documentation every time it comes into the racetrack, because as you can imagine, there's millions and millions of dollars of invested, horses on the racetrack at one time, and those are competing athletes. So it's like having the Olympic Village and making sure that the flu doesn't go through the week before the Olympics. So vaccinations are critical. And then the documentation of all of those, because these thoroughbreds are traveling, they might race in Delaware one night and go back to Charlestown, West Virginia the next night. And then the next week they ship to a new trainer at Laurel to plan for prep for the Maryland Million in 3 weeks. So these horses are on the move. So that is a well-documented process that is very important. As far as the farms go, again, the vaccination schedules, there's well-documented procedures that the vets, inform the owners of. And so there's known equine diseases. Of course, there's always the fear of what's unknown, but as far as you would call it herd health, we're hearing a lot about herd immunity these days.
Right.
That's all real in our world too with the horses. So that's how we manage it. And the thoroughbred end of things, these are not commercial beings, but the commercial animals, the yearlings. You have a yearling that you're prepping for sale in October, and it gets a bad illness in August and you miss a month of prep. That is a huge impact on your potential to sell that yearling for a good price in October. So for the thoroughbred, everybody wants a healthy horse, but for the thoroughbreds especially, when everything is pointed to one day at a sale or one day at a race, you've got to be constantly evaluating and vaccinating and making sure that your procedures are in place.
So let's get back to a little bit about this program that October is Maryland Horse Month this year. Do you think this is a 1-year event, or is it something that you've already, and a lot of stuff that's happened during the pandemic, people come up with creative ideas that are going to work way beyond the pandemic. Is this something you already think has captured the imagination of horse lovers?
We have the platform we put so much time into MarylandHorse.com. It's not going anywhere. But Jim McCabe Maryland Million Day is always in October, as in the 5-star will always be in October. So honestly, when these discussions started, we didn't know the Preakness was going to be in October. That was just the cherry on top event. So we believe firmly that October is Maryland Horse Month probably every year. If things scoot around or there's some other things that bubble up that are fun to promote, it could move. But yes, I think this is, and it's been such a good partnership between the Department of Agriculture, our organizations, all the private partners in the horse industry and tourism, that you're going to be hearing about October as Horse Month for a long time.
Well, and this has really let us focus on the virtual side of things, which is very important. But let's face it, you want to be near a horse, you want to go to an event. So this is really let us take advantage of this time, how we're sitting like we are today, and to strengthen that communication through there. So now, I mean, there's gonna be tickets, there's gonna be events, there's gonna be so much you can go to, and whether it moves or not, like we said, October 5-star and Maryland Million being in October. But it is October Horse Month, but as we said, Maryland's a horse state. So this will be kind of the cheering section, but this site will run and events, we will update the calendar and live events year round. So we will continue that, but I would say this is a great kickoff, and with all the support and the partners, I'm really excited about it. But next year, hopefully we'll have more and more events to go to, and then it'll really be something we can all celebrate in closer quarters and together.
Gary and I are used to doing this show and talking to people that, you know, play team sports, and it's, of course, it's affected everyone's schedule. But tell me right now, at the racetracks, are they letting any fans into the races right now?
As of last week, there were 250 fans allowed on Maryland Million Day. Since I want to say, oh golly, sometime in the summer, I'm not going to say a date, I can't remember exactly, but they started letting licensed owners back on to watch their horses, and they would kind of come in the side and just get checked and go watch their race and then go home. And then there was an expansion to allowing all licensed personnel, so any licensed owner could go and stay a little longer. So they're slowly increasing that. So the owners, the licensed owners with horses running, will be allowed on Maryland Million Day, and then 250 fans. We're actually still waiting for all the details. I wish I could share that with you, but go to laurelpark.com, and they have a phone number, because I know you have a lot of fan types or handicapper types that probably listen. Listen, the most money is made when a handicapper is on track betting. We want you to use the First Bet app. We want you to go to TVG. We want you to engage and bet. But the most money is made when that person is sitting there making the bet on track, because we don't have to pay all the fees to everybody else. So while handle has been up and strong through these last several months, a smaller percentage of every bet goes to the race
back to Maryland
when it's made online. So we're hopeful that, you know, those 250 people will all be vigorous bettors that are excited to be back in their seat at Laurel Park.
But 250 people down from 30,000 that might normally be out at a Maryland Million Day. That's calculable.
Only to Preakness as far as attendance goes. So it's a major. Listen, it's why I can sit here and talk to you right now, though, because typically this time of year I say Maryland Million and almost fall over. So it's a whole different experience, virtual.
So let me pose the question to you. I'm getting a sense now from people I talk to in the baseball world that they're not clear on how many games they will play next year. You both alluded to the Preakness sort of being back at its normal time, and the Maryland Million being in October next year again, and also the Fair Hills 5-star event. Are you comfortable with mapping out that far from today and saying these events will go off as scheduled?
I think we have to be. No, we have no idea what that will look like. But I think we have to be. I mean, I work in the steeplechase world too, and that has really changed. And they don't have online betting, so that's been different and that's been tough. So we're stressed about the spring, and we lost our entire spring season. But you know, yes, racing will with the people betting, and it will continue. So of course, we never expected any of this, and then we're still able to sit with you and talk today and just be so proud of how the Maryland horse industry has handled this. So I feel pretty confident saying yes. It may not look like it. There may not be the infield that it looks like, but I mean, look how much people have figured out how to handle things so far. And I think that people are only going to get more clever. We want it to succeed.
Right. And the only thing that might be challenging, which they faced this year, was the 5-star, because it's international travel. So racing has proven that it will continue. And a lot of that came from the fact that many of the constituents of racing live on the racetrack together all the time anyway. It's like me and Ann, we work together all the time. You know, it's like, here we are, this is our bubble. But that's like, we're like the racetrack. So it was quickly seen that, like, okay, we need to have our precautions, we need to be careful, but all these people are literally living with each other and working together all the time. So the show can go on. The international travel aspect of the 5-star, but they have a whole year to figure it out and how that's going to work. But, you know, Lord willing, yes, we're back and having fans again, because that's important, especially Maryland Million Day. I mean, it's, you know, Jim McKay's, vision,
meeting,
35 years of heritage in Maryland, and we have the legislators and everybody gets a lot about Maryland horse racing because they've attended Maryland Million Day for 35 years. So it's important that we get back to normal as soon as possible, as safely as possible and all that. So we're going to be optimistic.
And I think what you talked about a little bit earlier about the disease and things like that. One reason I think that exactly what Jordyn talked about, the track and licensed stables, horse owners deal with infectious disease a lot more than other sporting industries. So they are very in tune about safety precautions. There's something called strangles that it's highly contagious. So if someone says,
it can run through a barn. Yeah.
Right. So in international travel and everything else, they are so aware of not bringing anything that you don't want to or not spreading, because if their athlete is sick, they're out. So I think that the horse world, because of precautions that are in place, are going to be able to translate those to success in the next year.
And those horses quarantine, I know thoroughbreds that go across the globe to run, they have a quarantine period and all that, thinking through that, horse people here quarantine. It's like, whatever.
That's
quarantine. That's what we do.
Yeah.
A couple questions for you. First, let's stay on the Maryland Million for a second, and then I want to backtrack to something else. I'm not from Baltimore originally. I'm from South Florida. Gulfstream is obviously huge down there, so I'm familiar with horse racing. But everybody knows about no matter where you're from, knows about the Derby, knows about Triple Crown, etc. But I didn't know about the Maryland Million until I moved to Maryland and got involved in the sporting, media business. My friendship with Stan the Fan, obviously, who's a big supporter, etc. Can you take us back, for those maybe uninitiated, as to the birth of the Maryland Million, what motivated Jim McKay to start the Maryland Million, and how the Maryland Million is a different type of horse race than perhaps the Triple Crown?
I would love to. So Jim McKay, Wide World of Sports, Jim McKay, the one, the only, is a Marylander through and through. And he went to the first Breeders' Cup at Hollywood Park in the 1980s. Breeders' Cup is a world championship day of racing. It was the inaugural one. It was a huge deal. Horses came from all over the world and competed at Hollywood Park. And Jim McKay came back, and of course on the flight is like, why can't we do that in Maryland? Let's do it. So because he was Jim McKay, and because he had friends like, Billy Boniface and Chick Lang, and, the names of the early Maryland Million days just ring true in Maryland, history, got together and said, let's do it. And they had a conversation, from what I've been told. And it was like, well, how much should the races be worth that day? And they're like, $1 million, of course. So they did it. And because Jim McKay was Jim McKay, again, the corporate sponsorships flowed. And
right.
And the catch, let me just interrupt for just 1 second. The catch, Gary, is that all the horses are Maryland bred.
Maryland sired. It's a stallion program. So the stallion owners, there was, close to 100 stallions in Maryland or more at that stage, and they all paid in, and everybody paid in, and they got to $1 million. So the inaugural running a couple of years later was a huge celebration of the Maryland stallion industry. So the Breeders' Cup model is funded by stallions as well. You nominate the stallions and the progeny for Breeders' Cup. So that's continued on. We do have some Maryland. If now a Maryland Million race doesn't have enough competitors, because we always want to ensure a big enough field size, we will allow in some Maryland bred horses, but only the classic race opened up to Maryland breds this year. So it's still a Maryland sired program. We are staying true to Jim McKay's vision for this day, and supporting the Maryland industry and the Maryland stallions. Because it's a Maryland centric day, there's 12 races this year. We typically invite the entire legislature, all the appointed and elected officials, and then boards of every important horse organization in Maryland to come to our VIP hospitality area. It's become kind of legendary, I think, for a good day at the races. And we give it a Maryland flair. We have on-track entertainment in between the races, so it's family friendly. I think a lot of families go racing once a year, and it's Maryland Million Day. So we really try to include everybody, and it's 20 to 30,000 people show up at Laurel, which just doesn't happen that often. So it's our executive director, Cricket Goodall, started at the inception of Maryland Million, and she really has worked hard for 35 years to make sure that it, has continued to grow and has carried on the passion and tradition. So
we have a legendary name, Cricket Goodall.
So actually, Jordyn, it's interesting that you talk about the families showing up in Maryland Million Day maybe once a year if they go to the races they would go to that day. It's a family-friendly day. For years now, we've heard that the horse racing industry potentially is in decline because they need new fans. They need a way to bring younger people in to watch the races and bet on the races and learn, how to do all that. And you can certainly talk about that, but earlier we were talking about the equine industry and how many young people are actually interested in horses,
Yeah.
in riding horses, in learning about horses, in caring for horses. So my question is, there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect there. Like, how do you convert the youth that loves horses and grows up with horses into the handicapping, into the betting world? Or is that even important? Like, is there an effort to make that happen?
Yeah, it's 100% important. So like the Strana Group with the First Bet app, the Strana Group owns Laurel and Gulfstream and Santa Anita and Golden Gate. They're trying to drive technology that's attractive to younger people, easy to use, easy to engage. We all know how difficult handicapping a race can be if somebody's just like, here's your form, good luck. So the industry is obviously trying to go that way, but that is a huge part of what all of these campaigns are about, because I studied horse racing in college, but I'd only been to 2 horse races. I just knew that I loved horses and I wanted a job in the business. So for me and the foundation and the horse breeders and Maryland Horse Month and MarylandHorse.com, it's all about, let's just get horses out there so that the kid walking down the street that sees the flag horse sticker that we produce on the car, sees it on our office, comes in, has a conversation. We give them a pamphlet to go to a horse discovery center to have a first riding lesson. Then they call me when they get to 4-H, and then we get them an internship or a job shadow. Everybody decides they don't want to be a vet because they hate chemistry, and they call us, and I say, there's horse racing schools, there's internships, there's, I didn't want to be a trainer of thoroughbreds. I didn't know what else you could do. Well, here I am, so many years later with this job I love that's multifaceted and horse involved, and I work typically 9 to 5. So I think we are in Maryland cultivating new bettors and new fans, all by filling the top of the marketing funnel, right? And then that funnel has about 37,000 different spouts in Maryland and fills all the different buckets, whether it's horse racing, jousting, horse farming, whatever. So we are just filling the top of that funnel to fill all the needs of the horse industry in Maryland.
And one thing we did have, and Jordyn and I used to work together here, and then I went over to the other side of the industry. One thing
the other side
of the industry is that it's elitist and it's hard to get involved and it's intimidating. So with that came across these horse discovery centers, which I manage. We have 38 of them in Maryland, and they're in 17 different counties. And what these farms are, they're all licensed stables. But I know that if anyone is interested in riding or horses or being involved or just getting to a horse, these 38 stables are going to be a friendly hello and have some sort of free or low cost event. Now, COVID has made it different. Open barns, open houses, pony rides, pony parties, a very positive introduction to horses. And that is exactly what Jordyn talked about. It's, you're not necessarily going to get someone that's a kid, learning to bet, but you're really going to entice their interest. And we just know it's going to support the entire industry. Like Jordyn said, she went to the racetrack school and then knew how she wanted to go. How she came to it and how we get to work together, first of all, is the best part of my job, but also it's fascinating to me. I grew up, my dad was a bloodstock agent. He was a bloodstock agent because there was a horse down the road. I don't even know what kind of old horse it was, but he was taken with that horse, and that took him all the way to there, to being bloodstock. My mom grew up in the horse industry, and then I am a Maryland bred, and I've come to this part of, I do fox hunt and ride in the mornings, but then I work at a desk for the rest of the day. So I think changing the conversation of not everyone's going to be a vet, not everyone's going to be a trainer, or you can be, that's fantastic. But showing people the aspects of the industry you can get involved in, we think will contribute to the rest of the state. Jordyn and I went to an event last year, JA Inspire, which is an amazing, they said there were going to be 8,000 middle schoolers. Everyone says that. There were 8,000 middle schoolers that came up to us, and some of them just wanted the flag horse sticker, and that's okay, because then they're remembering this. And a lot of them had great questions about like what the industry can be. You can be an artist and work in the industry. You can be an accountant, and just kind of that it's not just pigeonholed to be in the horse industry, you ride horses. Yeah. It is a mega industry, and we think that that will continue the growth of the future.
speaking to the two of you, you can tell you have a real passion for the horse industry and thoroughbred racing as well. It's been about, I believe, 4 years since American Pharoah won the
Oh,
Triple Crown, first Triple Crown since 19, I think 73, 74.
Yeah.
Or
73.
no, 78, I think Affirmed won the last Triple Crown.
Oh.
How much have you seen a spike since American Pharoah's win in interest by young people? Did it have a sustainable impact on interest in horse racing?
I know for those races itself and probably the Triple Crown in the following year, and it's a talking point that everybody knows and everybody's aware of. So it probably had some impact. I know my brothers are both, financial operations management executives at the high level, and they love it and want to talk about it all the time. The high level Triple Crown, they're competitors, they're golfers, they're those type of guys, and something like that does pique their interest. I don't know that they're going to go buy a racehorse because of it, but they probably talk to their friends because of it. And again, it's that slow spread of like, because we need owners, we need bettors, we need fans, we need everybody, we need kids at the track that want the pony rides. It takes a village to fill the funnel. So that's type of thing certainly doesn't hurt. And that whole story was just tremendous, and what a tremendous catchy name and what a beautiful horse. And
Yeah.
I know that he fills a big slot and a favorite horse for a lot of us of our generation.
It's one of the most exciting sporting events I've ever witnessed live. I was there at Belmont
Oh,
Park.
were you really? Oh, that's
Yeah,
tremendous. Yeah.
I want to alert everybody because it could be a little confusing because we're on Jordyn Egan's Zoom account. There's Jordyn Egan over on our right, and over to the left is Ann Litz. Ann is with the Maryland Horse Industry. She's field marketing specialist, and Jordyn is with the Maryland Horse Foundation. She's director of development. We've got a couple more areas to go into. I've been friendly with Terry Hazeltine since he
Okay.
moved into town,
Yeah.
and he kind of made me aware of Fair Hill's effort about 2 years ago to attract a 4-star event. They had a 3-star event there, and it was really exciting that they got a 4-star event, and then they never ran the 4-star because they said, hold on, we've got a chance to get a 5-star event. And I know they put a lot of effort into this, and they got it. And now the state has put up a lot of money to redesign the course and everything. There's a great partnership going on there. Tell us what's going on with the 5-star event. And I know it was supposed to have occurred like this past weekend, I think, and it's scheduled for mid-October next year. But tell us a little bit about the 5-star event and what its economic impact could have in the state of Maryland.
So we do not work for the Maryland 5-star. The Maryland Horse Industry Board has worked with them to get the 5-star, and I'll encourage everyone to go to Maryland, the number 5-star, .org, I think they are. But if you just type in Maryland 5-star, they just had their first virtual event. You can watch amazing footage for hours and learn. If eventing is a new word for you, it will not be after you watch.
Right.
It is, talk about athletes, the riders, the horses. It's awesome.
It's quite a show. It's an entirely different show than thoroughbred racing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the horse is just a little, for those that don't know, they have to compete. The same horse and rider have to compete in 3 events. The show jumping, which is over show fences, cross country, which is over the most amazing fences you've ever seen, cross country, flat out, going fast, and then dressage, which is again on the flat, kind of a dance on a horse. So they do those in 3 days in a row. There are different levels. There's training, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star. And then some of the 4-stars got so difficult and so intense, they moved some of them up to a 5-star. Internationally, there are 7, and 1 will be here in Maryland. Maryland beat out North Carolina, Virginia. Those were our last 2 but if you think
Terry described it as having another, the economic impact being equivalent to a Preakness every year.
Yes, they see it as 30 million when the year comes around, 80,000 spectators year round. And that's what's interesting about Fair Hill. And I encourage anyone, even during COVID, that hasn't been to Fair Hill or doesn't know Fair Hill, Maryland. The 5-star is the showpiece. It is going to be I mean, it's an international and it's it's a world-renowned course. The footing, they had a test event there. The footing is exceptional. It's going to be the place to be for eventing. And it's going to.
How is the new course? Were you at the run through?
I was not able to attend the test event. Ross Petticourt did go up. They did not have spectators. It went extremely well. The key word for eventing is footing. You want your horses to go on good footing. The arenas have world-class footing. There was so many compliments, and the cross-country course. There are a couple quirks that are going to be worked out as they elevate it to run it. Ian Stark is the course designer. He's made courses all over the USA, the UK, Ireland. He's exceptional. So the test event went very well. Philip Dutton won it. Again, if you go to the Maryland 5-Star website, you can see interviews and hear how these people spoke about. So the event was very well received, and they had to have a test event to be able to run the 5-Star. It was supposed to be in May when the 5-Star was going to be in October. So these are all the parts of it. But it's not just the 5-Star. It is, Fair Hill is 6,000 acres. I mean, it's trail riding. There's top trail ride barns up there. There will be a horse discovery center, sort of a carnival feel to the middle where kids can like get their face painted and have a pony ride and touch a pony and then watch the best riders in the entire world go over these jumps. So
Gary and I went out. We used to host a TV show together called Inside Press Box, and we had some people from Fair Hills, and they invited us out. It's the first time I had ever been there. It was really very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's an amazing piece of property for Maryland, as for the horse part of Maryland, but also just for Maryland in general, to have that place preserved.
Hey, one of the things I wanted to talk about is the Maryland Horse Foundation's online silent auction. When is that coming up, and which of the two of you wants to talk about that?
I'll take that one.
Or Jordyn. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so it launched today, marylandhorse.com, pretty easy to remember, marylandhorse.com. There's a big banner at the top, so just click on that. We have almost 50 really good items, and if you don't like silent auctions, which a lot of us are over online auctioned right now, item number 1 is a donate button. So you can just donate and move on with your day.
But I'm telling you, I just saw I got outbid on something. As soon as this is off,
we're all watching our bids as we speak.
It is such a good platform. So we will be bidding, hopefully not against each other, but we are bidding as soon as we get off.
No, it's great. It's typically, we have a live and silent auction at the Maryland Million Gala each year to benefit the foundation. It's our largest annual fundraiser. So obviously this year it's been a challenge, but we transitioned online, which was a great opportunity for us to try something new. And the results already on day 1 are great. It runs through Monday at 8 p.m.
And so, what's the web address again?
marylandhorse.com.
marylandhorse.com.
Open today through Monday at 8 p.m. And I thought I had go there and you can, I had another note, but just go marylandhorse.com and you can bid, register, bid, or just donate. And we appreciate the support.
Gary, a last question for our ladies, and then I'll finish up.
First, a comment: whoever designed your logo, MarylandHorse.com logo, should be commended. Great stuff. The horse decorated basically in the Maryland flag. I love it. I love the Maryland flag on anything, actually. Right. But quick question to either one or both of you. Someone mentioned before about how we compared to Kentucky when we were talking about economic impact that the equine industry has in the state of Maryland, and we talked about the acreage and all the things. And I wonder, what type of relationship does Maryland Horse or whatever the state of Maryland have with the state of Kentucky? Do you share best practices? Is it competitive? Like what is the nature of that, considering, no pun intended, that you guys are probably neck and neck with each other?
And let me just add in that Governor O'Malley stole Terry Hazeltine from
Kentucky. That's right.
He stole Jordyn from Kentucky. Yeah. So I am very
So what is that dynamic between Maryland and Kentucky?
Listen, we're very intertwined, especially on the breeding end of things. A lot of Maryland breds are by Kentucky stallions. So a lot of breeders that own property in Maryland would send their mares to Kentucky to be bred by Kentucky stallions and bring them back and foal them here. We do have Maryland stallions as well. So it just depends on what you're choosing. We all, the horse racing industry, we aren't cutthroat competitors with Kentucky. Everybody at this stage wants to see handle going up, foals born each year going up. You know, the stallion guys in Maryland would say, yes, we're neck and neck competitors, because stop sending your mares to Kentucky to breed to Kentucky stallions. But that's just the marketplace, and it makes everybody elevate. So yeah, I mean, Kentucky is a leader in a lot of ways, but and is very horsey through and through, don't get me wrong. But when I lived in Kentucky and worked there for 3 years for Darley and Godolphin, and when I moved to Maryland, I was like, wow, you know, Maryland's just, you know, and it's more through and through horsey. You'd have more people that like breed a mare, foal the mare, race the mare, retire the progeny and fox hunt it, and then like retire it again and let it live there till it's 30. In Maryland, it's the full life cycle of the horse here, which is a neat thing. The horse culture here is just so strong beyond the thoroughbred industry in Maryland.
Hey, we thank you both for coming on. And I've got
Excellent.
one last question. It wasn't on our list of topics, but I just wonder, I can tell your passion for the game and the thoroughbred industry. Is the industry excited at the news that Pimlico is going to stay the home of the Preakness? I wasn't for it, but I was resigned to the fact they were probably going to lose it to Laurel, but it was staying in the state. It didn't seem like it affected me. But I get the sense that the industry inside the state of Maryland is thrilled that there will be a way to keep it at Pimlico.
Yeah, I would say that it's an important stamp on the horse culture in Maryland, that was worth fighting for.
Yeah.
All of us, you know, depending on the time of year leading up to that, would have said, there's no way. Of course it will. Who do you think? What do you know, it's like, you never know. But going through the process with the legislature last year, I was fortunate to be down there in a lot of those meetings. And we in the horse industry in Maryland, even if we have differences, have the ability to come together and say, okay, this is where we need to move the ball this quarter, whatever, football terms, football. So we, you know, we can get together. We got down in Annapolis, they negotiated and we got it done. So that is important. And we all know that momentum and future looking and optimism are a part of success. So it is a very optimistic, happy, good thing that happened for sure.
All right. Well, Jordyn Egan, who just finished talking, we appreciate your being on, and Litz, we appreciate your being on as well. And it's been interesting to learn about Maryland Horse Month.
Don't
First
forget
ever October.
Maryland Million Day, October 24th, Laurel Park. You can go to marylandmillion.com and watch how to stream it.
This coming Saturday.
This Saturday, first post is 11:25.
All right, ladies, thank you very much for
Thank
joining
you guys.
us.
Really, really good.
Take
Really
care.
enjoyed it. For Gary Stein, I'm Stan the Fan, and we'll see you down the road.